Good morning. Good morning. I would like to start out with a poem prayer. It's actually funny that came to me this morning in the shower to share it. It's actually the first poem I realized that I ever wrote and shortest. So it was inspired by a gentleman in Sedona that was literally a saint. Goes like this. Father, Mother, Creator God, thank you for another day. Master Jesus, Holy Spirit, light my path, guide the way. Give me strength, give me courage, give me wisdom from above. Bring to me the ones who need to see and feel and know your love. Amen.
Amen.
This guy woke up every day. That was his prayer, and he had miracle stories almost daily. Amazing gentleman. And then another one, which is funny, it's my last one I wrote, was yesterday, and it was specifically for this presentation. And it goes like this. It's actually called We Are the Light of the World. My desire is to inspire you, to seek and knock and find, through the doorway of the heart, beneath the busy mind. In the silence, in the stillness, the voice of God you'll hear, whispering words of wisdom. There is no thing to fear. The truth that's true always, that we and God are one. We are the light of the world, like sunbeams to the sun. We are born of love, the only thing that's real. Our treasure is in heaven, no thief could ever steal. Heaven's right here among us, if we have eyes to see, to look with eyes of innocence, with forgiveness, then we're free. Free of judgment and of conflict, suffering and pain. All of fear's children, the belief in loss and gain, the belief in separation, the root cause of all dis-ease. For fear has many forms to varying degrees. The eye of the needle that every soul must pass through to face our fears unaffected by knowing what is true. We are infinite, eternal. We're pure spirit. We are soul. We are the light of the world. One with God, we are whole. Whoever told you you were less than beautiful, you're a whole. Okay. What's that?
Let's get started.
Let's get started. Okay, so we're here to share The Way of Mastery. This is a book. We first started listening on YouTube for free, the lessons, and had been through probably, there's 35 lessons. There's actually 3 books. There's 3 books in one. The first is The Way of the Heart. Second is The Way of Transformation. Third is The Way of Knowing.
And this has all 3 books in it,
Yeah.
which is nice because it's just all together.
So we had been through all 35 lessons probably 3 or 4 times, and then I found a channeling of a video of the gentleman that channeled the material, which is a Christ consciousness. I knew it when I first started listening. It's very much related to Course in Miracles, but to me, it's a much simpler, more practical, more powerful way, filled with practices and exercises and suggestions on what we can do to remember who we are. So yeah, after I listened to the video of Jahem speaking about his experience of channeling, which was a 7-year kicking and screaming and punching and resisting and cussing God out and finally surrendering to it, it was like icing on the cake because I already knew it was the real deal. This is Christ speaking. And, this presentation, I was thinking, well, should I tell them all about my personal experiences, these little miracles and all this thing that are somewhat entertaining, I guess you could say. But then again, I'm not channeling Christ fully yet, so I think I want to basically share at least the first chapter, if you don't mind. That way you can get a taste and a flavor of the book, because it's just so full of wisdom. And it's actually written in such a way, each sentence, each paragraph, the cadence, the humor is all by design. So I don't want to necessarily take anything out of context, so to speak. If you're interested after we read the first chapter, then you can delve in many ways. So just real briefly, what got us here? Shoot, I was a bodybuilder 30 years ago. Mr. Maryland, 1989. Look at me. I got on this pay-per-view bikini cable show. Then I'm out in California. I'm on Baywatch. I did national commercials for GNC. I'm thinking this body is me. Look at me. Look at me. I'm on Baywatch, and then I was on my way to become a Chippendale dancer, and I decided to do a juice fast to lose weight. So during the juice fast, God came in and split me open, had an amazing spiritual awakening, and set me on this path of seeking truth. I always prayed for only the truth. I never prayed for stuff or things. I just want to know the truth. So 30 years later, he shows up. Actually, no, there's been many great teachers and many great books along the way that have been stepping stones, but I truly, truly feel 100% for me and for humanity, this book as a guide, as a way home, not just information, not just, interesting ideas, but actually a way to wake up to who we are. And I think it's time. Anything you want to share, honey? Before we get started? Okay, so the way of mastery. Finally got this book, and it's a godsend because we moved out here off the grid and we don't have Wi-Fi. So we got the book because we pretty much every morning we delve in and read at least one chapter and then meditate on it. So, introduction. You hold in your hands the treasure teachings of Jeshua ben Joseph, Jesus, one of the greatest masters humankind has ever known. These teachings were given during the years 1994 and 1997. Please do not hurry as you read through each lesson. Rather, allow each sentence to be held within the heart, each idea to fill the mind and the body with its very real frequency or vibration. For each word, the structure of each sentence, the cadence and humor is by design. These words are to be studied and savored over and over until their meaning deepens and flowers into the grace of Christ living in you and as you, allowing the ray of that light to penetrate your mind, correcting every perception you have ever held about yourself or the world. You will find your gifts being formulated in new ways. You will find that you have an unseen teacher revealing to you what you are all ready to learn. And your life will be guided by a voice that is not your own until the voice you have called your own is no longer heard. What has been called the ego will simply dissolve, and the mind will know perfect peace. Does this take time? You are as close as the choice to teach only love. The 35 lessons contained in this volume reveal the way taught to Jeshua himself, and now lovingly presented by him for you, so that the choice for love becomes your every thought, your every breath, your every action extended to the world as the awakened Christ. May you be transformed by the way of mastery in your unique process of remembering who you really are. And by the way, it was through these teachings, this voice of God that I heard years ago that woke me up. That same voice came, and I attribute it to the practice in these teachings, specifically the meditations to quiet the mind and get into the heart, where God has been speaking directly to me.
Which we'll share in another presentation. Okay, this is the promise from Christ. If you become wholly committed to awakening from the dream you have dreamt since the stars first began to appear in the heavens, and if one desire is to be only what God created, then lay at the altar of your heart with every breath. Everything you think you know, everything you think you need, and look lovingly upon every place that fear has made a home in your mind, and allow correction to come. It will come, regardless of how you experience it. It will come. All the day and moment will arise, and all your pain and fear and suffering will have vanished like the wind that pushes the foam of the wave away, revealing the clarity of the ocean beneath you. You will literally feel throughout your being that there never was a dream. Some memories might remain with you, and you will know that somewhere you must have dreamt a dream or had a thought of wondering what it would be like to be other than the way God created you. But it will be such a faint echo that it will leave no trace upon you. In your heart, you will smile gently, regardless of the circumstances in which you find yourself. There will be peace from the crown of the head to the tip of the toes, and peace will walk before you wherever you go. It will enter a room before you enter it with a body, and those who are becoming sensitive will wonder who has come into their place. And some will even say, "Behold, I believe Christ has come for dinner," and you will be that one, for that is who you are, Christ eternal.
Thank you. So, Spirit is saying to interject one of the things that Joshua says in this book is that, and this is a hard one to swallow, but I know it's true. He says there's no difference between your waking state and that state when you're dreaming. In other words, he says there's only been a handful of people that have actually lived on this planet, actually allowed life to live through them. Most of us are still in the dream of separation. All the stories, all the dramas, and this and that, and what this, I did that. So when I speak of that stuff that I did, it was really just a dream, including the suffering side. He speaks of that very clearly. So I want to wake up. I don't know about you, but I want to wake up within this dream and then live in the sandbox and play and have fun and be in the world, but not of the world. So, lesson 1, the way that calls you home. Now we begin. Beloved friends, I come forth to abide with you. Hold on, let me get these glasses on. No wonder I was.
That was the whole purpose.
I just got them this morning. Beloved friends, I come forth to abide with you where you believe yourself to be. I come not for myself, but for you. I come not to teach you, but to love you. Until you choose from the depth within your own being to set aside every illusion you have ever given credence to, and to remember the truth which alone is free. For indeed, in that hour, there is a transcendence of all that knows limitation. There's a transcendence of all that knows coming and going, birth and death. There is but the mind of Christ within each of us, as a spark of divine light, as a sunbeam to the sun. Rest eternally in perfect communion and in communication always. The great secret is this is your state of your reality. In each and every moment, you abide in perfect communion with the whole of creation, since all things are but temporary modifications of the one fundamental energy that I've chosen to call the Christ mind, the offspring of the Father. Beloved friends, I come to where you choose to be. And if you would choose to open that place within the heart and within the mind in which you can communicate with me directly, I will meet you there as well. You will. What is important then, by the way of beginning, is to consider this simple fact. Your experience is always the effect of where you choose to focus the attention of your consciousness, itself being unlimited forever, embracing all the many dimensions of creation. You abide in that which embraces all things in all ways and in all times. In truth, you do not know separation, birth or death, gain or loss. As you focus your attention on reading these words, recognize how you, as an infinite being, have deliberately chosen to participate in a form of experience. You will read words that carry certain meanings for each of you, and each of you will color that meaning according to the perceptions that you have chosen to place value upon. Does this mean that some are ahead and some are behind? It only seems that way. In reality, each of you is equal. Each of you chooses from your infinite freedom to attract to yourself certain vibrational frequencies, certain forms or qualities of experience. That freedom is what you abide in always, from before the foundation of this world and long after this world ceases to be. In each and every moment, you cannot be a victim of what you see, and nothing is outside of you. What you experience, you have directly and deliberately called to yourself. If you hold the thought, I do not like what I've called to myself, that is perfectly fine. For you have called to yourself the experience of being in judgment of yourself. Merely look with wonder of a child and see what it feels like and ask yourself, is this an energy I wish to continue in, or would I choose something else? For ultimately, when all possible choices within the dream of separation have been made, have been tasted, have been felt, and have been known, finally there emerges the still, quiet voice of spirit that speaks through the soul, whispering of the one truth, the one reality, the one love, the one peace, and the one bliss that is continual. Then the soul begins to turn from the things of this created world. It begins to withdraw its attention from its attachments to all of the things it has called to itself. It begins to transcend its sense of identification with the vibrational frequencies it had only meant to play with and then took seriously. It is seriousness within the mind that is the creation of ego. And it is great seriousness that holds the vibration of what you would no longer choose to experience within the field of your being, within the field of your soul. As you as a soul, the individual divine spark, begin to choose to withdraw the attention and the value you have placed upon all things, as you learn to simplify the nature of your own consciousness, as you realize that you can surrender into something that seems beyond you and that you can entertain the insane thought of trusting the invisible, you come more and more to be less and less. As you become less and less of what you thought you were, conversely, you become more and more of what your Father created you to be. The thought of perfect love in form, a channel, a simple vehicle through which the love of spirit can shine forth. Your only task becomes the cleaning of your windows, the polishing of your floors, and the weeding of your garden so that the light can pour forth unimpeded. No longer will you find the need to defend perceptions that you are identified with in error. You will indeed know when you have come to that state of awakening, for you will be able to look upon all created things that you have ever experienced, all reactions you have ever held within the mind, all perceptions, all judgments, all desires that you have ever held for anyone or anything. And as they arise in your mind, they will not disturb your peace. And you will smile. You will see that within your consciousness have arisen all saintliness and all devilishness. You have been both saint and sinner, and your happiness and your unhappiness have been merely an effect of where you choose to place your attention. Indeed, beloved friends, I come forth to meet you wherever you are because I have chosen to use the infinite power of consciousness given me of the Father as equally as it is given unto you, to discover how deep delight can be when the mind is focused on only seeing from and seeing only the mind of Christ. I have therefore called to myself all multitude of experiences, even as I walked upon your beloved earth as a man, to challenge myself, to test myself, to condition myself to rise above, to transcend all possible experiences that could distract me from the remembrance of who I am. By the way, my crucifixion was simply the climax of my own direct choice to be challenged by the events of space and time so that I could cultivate within myself the ability to see from and to see only the perfect purity of the mind of Christ. He does tell a story in here where during the crucifixion, there was a centurion soldier getting ready to hit one of the nails into his hand or wrist, I don't know where. And he had come to the point in consciousness where he could forgive in a snap and see only Christ in everybody, no matter what. And that's what he did. He looked up at this soldier, and the soldier looked at him, and the moment they met eyes, the soldier got it. because Christ saw the truth in them. And he said the soldier literally dropped the hammer and walked away. And they're very good friends now. It's Saint Germain. That was Saint Germain. The point that I'm trying to make with you is that in each and every moment, what you are experiencing in the realm of your emotions and mind, and the effects to a lesser degree within the body, are there because you, from your infinite freedom, have simply selected that experience to focus your attention on so that you can see what the effects are. The insanity does not come from having chosen to see something other than the mind of Christ. The insanity that you experience as your pain, your suffering, your seeking, and your dramas comes only from your mistaken choice to become identified with what arises in the field of your awareness. You therefore lose sight of innocence, for all events are perfectly neutral, and you are free to see them any way you want. I speak from experience that separation is an illusion. When death occurs in your plane, in that very moment, you still have the power to choose to recognize that something has changed and to shift your attention to a different faculty that the body could never possibly contain, one in which you perceive and hear and communicate with that spark of divine light, the soul, that seems to have given up the idea of trying to keep a physical form animated. This is imperative. In fact, it is the very first step of the way of the heart. The first step in awakening. The first step in awakening is to allow into the mind this axiom of truth. Nothing that you experience is caused by anything outside of you. You experience only the effects of your own choice. Full responsibility, folks. That's what it's doing here. During the first part of this course, we will be building lesson by lesson on what I'm choosing to call the way of the heart. It is the way unknown to the world. It is a way unknown to many that would call themselves spiritual teachers, for it is not a way of resting on or becoming dependent on magical means, law of attraction and all these things. It is rather the pathway which cultivates within you the decision to turn your attention upon your own mind, upon your own behavior, upon what is true and real for you moment to moment, to study it, to consider it, to feel it, to breathe the light of spirit through it, and to constantly retrain the mind so that it assumes complete responsibility in each moment. Why is this necessary? Because without it, there can be no peace. Without it, you cannot transcend the false identifications that you have chosen. You need to come to a point where you say to yourself, I have done this to myself. I did it. I must correct it. No one is to blame. The world is innocent. The world is innocent. In the lessons that follow, we will be communicating with you more and more deeply the finer points of the way of the heart, for it is that way that was taught to me. It is that way that brings about the reversal of every thought you have ever had about anyone or anything. It is that way alone which allows you to pass back through the eye of the needle and to come to rest in the perfect peace from which you have sprung forth. The way of the heart is not the way of the intellect, for indeed that aspect of the mind was never designed to be your master. It was designed to be the humble, and if you will pardon the expression, very stupid servant of the awakened heart. The heart is that which feels all things, embraces all things, trusts all things, and allows all things. The heart is that which the soul rests eternally. The heart is that which is beyond space and time and is that spark of light in the mind of God, which is called Christ. Only in that will you find the peace that you seek. You will discover that the pathway of awakening is not a pathway of avoidance, but a pathway of truthfulness. It is not a pathway of accomplishment and pride, but a pathway of releasing from the consciousness every hope and every wish to be special, to see yourself as having made progress, so that you can pound a fist upon the chest and spread the tail feathers. It is a transcendence of the hope of somehow getting God's attention so he will look upon you and say, oh, you've been such a good person. Yes, we will allow you into the kingdom now. It is a way in which you will come to cultivate, regardless of your inner experience or degree of awakening, the willingness and the art of returning to the simplicity of empty-headedness and not knowingness with each and every breath. This is a way of life in which all things and all events become an aspect of your meditation and your prayer until there is established once again within you the truth that is true always. Not my will, but thine be done. For of myself I do nothing, but the Father does all things through me. Imagine then a state of being in which you walk through this world seemingly appearing like everyone else, and yet you are spacious within. You are empty within. In truth, you desire nothing, though you allow desire to move through you. He does go into desire in the book, very much so, very detailed. A lot of us have suppressed desire. So the truth is, yes, we desire nothing. We allow desire to move through us, but it's also the other side of the coin is it's okay to desire. As a matter of fact, it gives exercises on really getting in touch with your desires. And you will recognize it as the voice of the Father guiding you personally, your emotions, and even the body to places, events, people, and experiences through which the tapestry of the atonement, the at-one-ment, is being woven, through which all the children of God are called home again. You trust the complete flow of that, whether you are asked to give a speech in front of 10,000 people, or whether you're asked to tell a friend of the truth of your feelings, or whether you are asked to sweep the streets and live penniless. For in truth, the mind that trusts the source of its own creation allows all things, trusts all things, embraces all things, and transcends all things. Rest assured, whenever you feel frustration and anxiety, it is because you have decided not to trust the truth. And the truth is simply this: only God's plan for salvation can work for you. Your way must always fail, for your way begins with the illusory and insane assumption that you are a separate being from the mind of God and must therefore direct your own course. For if you are sick and diseased and not at peace, why would you decide that you know how to create peace? It requires great humility to accept the first step of the path. I have done all this. I must undo it. I have no idea how I did this. Therefore, I must surrender to something else. I give you this thought and I would ask you to consider it well. What if the very life you are living and each and every experience that is coming to you now since the moment you decided, I have got to awaken here, was being directly sent to you of your Father, because your Father knows what is necessary to unravel within your consciousness to allow you to awaken? What if the very things you are resisting are the very stepping stones to your homecoming? What if you achieve the maturity along this pathway in which you were finally willing to let things be just as they are? If it was necessary to sweep the streets, you simply took a deep breath and said, Father, you know the way home, and began sweeping. And up into the mind comes the thought, oh my God, I won't be recognized. I won't stand out. People won't think I'm special if I'm just a street sweeper. Yet you recognize, aha, no wonder my Father wants me to do this. I've got to flush this up so I can look at it, disidentify from it, and learn to be the presence of love in the sweeping of the street. In truth, I tell you, the least among you, according to your perception, is already equal to the greatest, and there is none among you who is less than I am. The way of the heart begins by accepting the humility that you have created quite a mess within your consciousness. You have created a labyrinth and gotten lost within it, and you do not know the way back. It begins by accepting that of yourself, you can do nothing. For all you have managed to achieve is the creation of a whole lot of insane dramas that are occurring nowhere except within the field of your mind. They are like chimeras, like dreams. In truth, there is no difference between a waking state in which you would be the director of your life and the dreams that you have when the body sleeps at night. They are both the same. I wish to direct you to peace, even that peace which forever transcends the understanding and comprehension of the world. I desire, because my Father desires it through me, to bring you wholly to where I am, that you might discover there is someone that got there ahead of you. And when you look closely, you will say, ah, it is myself. I have always been there, but I forgot. In the end of all journeying, in the end of all purification, and indeed purification still is necessary, you will discover that to awaken means to have journeyed nowhere. It means to arrive at a goal that has never changed. Awakening is only remembrance, but it is a remembrance not just of the intellect. It is not an idea as you would understand ideas. It is an idea that vibrates through the whole field of your beingness, so that even the cells of the body, while yet the body remains coalesced together in its present form, awaken and relax into the truth that is true always. If you were a gardener, would you not cultivate the art of weeding your garden? Would you not look to see that the soil is just the correct dampness? Would you not keep your eye on the clouds on the horizon and the heat of the day? Would you not cover the delicate plants that need protection while they are growing strong? And if those that would come would not respect your garden, would you not ask them to leave or build a temporary fence until the garden is strong enough, until it bursts forth with enough fruit so that you can give even to those who do not respect it? Be you therefore a wise gardener. Cultivate a deep love and respect for yourself, for you are not here to fix the world. You are not here to fix your brother or sister. It is only love that heals. And until you have loved yourself wholly, by having purified the mind of every erroneous thought you have ever held, until you have loved yourself, you do not, in truth, love anyone or anything.
That's deep.
Save in those brief moments when you let your guard down and the love of God shines forth through you so quickly you do not even know what happened. The wise gardener cultivates a state of consciousness in which the love of God is unimpeded. Beloved friends, those of you who have elected to answer a call to participate in this pathway with this family, if you would make your commitment to trusting your Creator for having set before you a pathway that can lead you home, you will indeed arrive at home. But commitment means that you do not get to leave the room when the shouting begins. The shouting we are speaking of is the shouting within your own mind, within your own body, within your own emotions. It means that you will stay with these things by being honest about them and loving yourself for ever having the power to even create such an insane perceptions of yourself and the world around you. The way of the heart is the final pathway that any soul can enter. There are many stages of awakening. There are many pathways that can be followed. But ultimately, all roads lead to Rome, as they say. Eventually, each soul must find its way into the way of the heart. Each soul must come back to the truth that it is time to take responsibility, to learn to cultivate the ability to look upon the deep and vicious blackness of what I have called ego, which is nothing more than the cesspool of denial. It is that which lacks light. Begin to bring light back to it by simply observing your own mind, your own behavior, and your own reactions with a sense of wonder, with a sense of innocence, and with a sense of childlikeness. For is it not written that you must again become a little child to enter the kingdom? The little child simply marvels at all they see and says, well, how about that? Can you imagine looking upon the deepest, darkest parts of your own shadow, your own denials, and being able to say, oh, how about that? Remember that everything is neutral, and all that arises within your consciousness has no effect upon the truth of your reality. The way of the heart is a way of cultivating the decision to become identified with the light that can shine away all darkness, not by fighting it with it, but by recognizing it, embracing it as your own creation, and choosing again. The way of the heart is the way that I teach. And now we begin a focused, in-depth study together that this way might become established within your holy mind. Remember that the truth is true always. Is it not time, beloved friends, to truly step into ownership of your own reality? The way of the heart does not know the word avoidance. It does not know deception, manipulation, or control. It does not know blame, although it watches these things arise as echoes of old patterns now outgrown. It learns to see them, to recognize them, like you might recognize certain kinds of clouds that pass through the sky, and then learns to turn the attention of the mind that a new choice might be made. The way of the heart is the way that calls you home, and the call comes from that deep part of your soul that is still like unto spirit, which abides as Christ in the holy mind of God. Trust then that you are a sunbeam to the sun. Trust not the perceptions you have cultivated in error. You are not alone on the way that you journey, and you journey not apart from your brothers and sisters. This family cannot know separation, for once the call to awaken through this lineage has been acknowledged, though some bodies may not communicate in space and time, rest assured communication remains, and there is no way to avoid it. We begin now the way of the heart. It is time to step into the willingness to don the mantle of one committed to healing every obstacle to the presence of love that may yet remain secretly hidden in the depth of that part of your mind that would struggle to be separate from God. And to remember that you are truly the light that can come to shine lovingly upon every aspect of darkness you have known. Along the pathway of this course, you are going to learn how to shake hands with the devil, to do a little jig with him, and to recognize his face to be your own. When you can dance with the darkness that you have created, that darkness is transformed into an angel, and light abides with light. We will be giving you certain meditations and certain energetic practices to help cultivate within you the quality of feeling that will allow you to recognize energies that do not serve you. These will be given in a way that transcends what your mind may choose to think of these energies, so that you learn more and more to lead with the body, to lead with your feeling nature, not your intellect. The intellect does not know anything except the trivialities that you have shoved into it, like garbage into a garbage can. The intellect can never bring the healing of the heart that is the atonement. It can only be utilized to argue against the insane perceptions you are used to, so that you might come to see that perhaps there is a greater good in giving up your insistence on treating the intellect as your God. Therefore, indeed, beloved friends, dance, rejoice, and play often. Let these lessons bring up within you everything unworthy the mind of Christ, every thought of scarcity, every sense of unworthiness, and every fear. Let them come up, look at them, embrace them, and transmute them through your own love of self and through your honesty. Accept where you are and do not pretend to be otherwise, for the wisest are always the humblest. Be you, therefore, beloved friends, at peace in all things. For we, in what you would call the disembodied state, who are electing to participate with those of you who are asking to be helped through this pathway, delight in joining with you. We delight in loving you. We delight in waiting on you to welcome yourself home. I would ask that you close your eyes for just a moment. Take a deep breath into the body and let it go. As the breath leaves the body, hold the thought that there is nothing worth holding on to any longer that keeps your peace and happiness at arm's length. Become committed, fully committed to the experience of happiness, even as you may have been committed to unhappiness, limitation, and lack. Give your Creator full permission to sweep the basement clean. There really is not anything down there worth defending or protecting. It will come to pass that you will know the perfect peace of empty-headedness, not knowingness. You will know what it means to be relieved of time and to be comforted by what is eternal. Never once let yourself think that you are alone. It is nonsense for you to think that I am not with you. You have asked, I have responded. We are in communication. That is the way it is. And that is the way it will be until the end of all illusion. Peace be unto you always. Amen. So in that meditative state,
We're going to do a little meditation together, inspired by Christ. So get yourself nice and comfortable, and if you would like to uncross your legs and kind of get yourself feeling loose and relaxed, we're going to go in it's a small meditation, nothing too long. So this meditation is a form of communion or meditation that was initially and essentially taught to me by several of my friends.
so by me.
by me. What you know as disciples, one of which carried this specific form of teaching and I preserved it. Now it is done. Now I did. I'm sorry. Now it did not originate with me. I merely refined it. For I, like you, was once a student of the ways of seeking God, and I dove deep into the nature of consciousness and mind itself, and discovered how to attune the mind, the emotions, and even the nervous system of the body to resonate with the perfect will and love of God. To begin to prepare a place for that teaching here we go. Okay, now we're going to start. So allow your eyes to close and become aware of the simple movement of your own breathing. Breathing in and then releasing out. One more. Breathing in and releasing. And simply hold this thought. I allow this breath to move more deeply and more slowly. Breathing in and releasing. Then, as you are beginning to feel that sense of relaxation ever more deeply, hold the thought. With Christ in perfect safety, I release all tension. Another deep breath and release. With Christ in perfect safety, I dissolve my mind in the perfect peace of God. Continue your deep breathing. Then merely continue in this manner as the breath comes to fill the body gently. And merely say, I accept. And as the breath leaves the body, gently say within the mind, the love of God. So breathing in, I accept. And then releasing the love of God. And again, as the breath enters the body, breathing in, I accept, and breathing out, the love of God. And we'll do this a couple more times until you really feel your body relaxing deeper. I accept the love of God. I accept the love of God. Doing that on your own a couple more times. Your eyes closed and your body deeply relaxed. Continue to feel this. You might perceive it as a golden white light. You might feel it as a gentle flow of relaxation. Whatever works is perfect. Continue gently to breathe that quality or that color into yourself with each breath. And with each letting go of the breath, imagine and feel that energy moving throughout the course of the body, as though it were extending like a gentle breeze beyond the boundaries of the body. And for a little bit longer, we'll continue. And if you notice, the ego consciousness kicks its heels up, and you start thinking of all multitude of things that you ought to be doing, simply return to this prayer and breath.
Accept.
And a beautiful affirmation to end this short meditation is, I am loved. I am loving. And I am lovable forever. And we'll do that again. I am loved. I am loving. And I am lovable forever. And whenever you're ready, you can slowly begin to come back into your waking state and slowly begin to open your eyes and come back into the room.
So I have to share, that's my bread and butter. That type of meditation changed my whole life after 30 years of meditating and blah, blah, blah. And I am God and I am light and I am love and I'm an instrument, all these things that I used to say. When I started accepting first, feeling, took a while for me to actually start to feel this presence within me, changed everything. Because he talks about giving and receiving in there. He talks about you can't give what you've not first received. And your receiving is complete then when you give. And so when you give, your receiving is complete. So it was so powerful. It's my, like I said, bread and butter, morning and night. That's how I start my meditations. I just start breathing. I accept. And I breathe it in down through the top of my head. I imagine a straw, the vortex coming down in into my heart as I say I accept and breathe in. And then as I exhale, just let it move through me and around me and wherever. But it's a very, very effective way to connect and feel God's love for us.
And it cleanses your aura field and your chakras. If you know, so many ways that you can look at things and explain things. There's a million ways to look at things and explain things. But
so this book is chock full. There's one lesson that's really neat. It details our whole soul journey into this reality. It's very clear. There's another chapter, which to me is the crux of the whole thing. It's forgiveness. The highest work is embracing and forgiving our past. And it takes more than just reading the book. It takes time and introspection and actual healing. I've done it several times through breathing techniques and my own stuff that I've learned in my career. And I've actually inspired to develop a system or a way to help people get into those places and allow them to come up and look at them again with innocence and forgiveness. And literally, personally, I've felt energies steaming off my body like you'd see steam coming off of a pan after going through a memory or an emotion. So one of the things I do offer as well, I'm doing body work and Reiki and whatever you want to call it, light activations down at the Mountain Valley Center on Thursdays. I would like to offer for the first time as a group here my services for you can come and we can delve into what if you want to forgive some things. I can help facilitate that. And Angela is a hypnotherapist and life coach can do the same thing in other ways.
Yeah, hypnotherapy and actually a very long list of healing modalities. So whatever needs to, if anyone ever wants any assistance in any way, I'm of service. And we have a handout, which is if you'd like to watch all the YouTube videos in the mornings, maybe when you have your cup of coffee, or if you want to, this is what we did for like 3 years, or if you want to get the book, or if you want to do a Zoom call, which Socrates is facilitating every Wednesday at 6:30. 6:30. It's a Zoom call. But anyway, all the different ways that you may or may not be interested are all in this little form. And if you do decide you want to do the Zoom call, we can take down your name and email and get you in the Zoom system. But I'll pass these out for everybody, and then we can have conversation about this. And I can't walk with this thing though, right? Would you? Okay. Okay. If you don't mind, sure. Either way, yeah, thank you. Anybody have any comments or thoughts or feelings that they'd like to share or questions?
Mhm.
We're doing it from Mountain Valley Center, yeah.
Until we get Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we don't have Wi-Fi.
Good luck.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're off the grid. We're back in the woods. We got hydropower, no telephone wires, nothing. Spring water. It's great. I wouldn't be here without this angel, physically or spiritually.
oh,
We met in a massage room. First time we met, I massaged her. And then next couple of days after, we were in front of a Chief Golden Light Eagle. Some of you may know Chief Golden Light Eagle, just passed. Anyway, he called us up in front of the group and then taught the spiritual and universal laws of creator while we're standing up next to him for whatever reason, I don't know, but I realized we were married, man. We had our first date and then we were married 2 days later.
I mean, it wasn't what you would call technical marriage. It was more of a like
It was
what? Yeah, what?
powerful.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, very, very deep,
Was that
meaningful.
all out in Sedona or?
Thank you.
Actually, that was it West
That was
Virginia?
West Virginia.
West
Yeah.
Virginia. Mhm, we were living in Maryland. Yeah.
And where is, I know you said you're off the grid, but just approximately, are you closer down towards Dillard or more towards Franklin? Whereabouts?
We're right down at the end of Shope Road, which
There's
is
a
right
Bateman's Produce.
by Bateman's Produce. Yeah, right there, right by Bateman's Produce. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. You what?
Follow the possum down to your house.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you both so much. That was awesome. And then I was just looking on the recap of the times. It was probably about 6:30 to 8 on Wednesday evenings. And then there was one other time we were talking about.
Oh, Thursdays.
Oh, I'm at the Mountain Light Center on Thursdays. By donation, I offer healing, whatever sessions, yeah, from like 1 to 5. And I can do by appointment. Matter of fact, did I bring cards? I'll leave some cards if anyone wants a card. You can take a card and we can make time. I could come to your house even. I did that for 25 years. I traveled all around. There's some cards if anybody would like a card. Yeah, God spoke to me powerfully last year. I was in the meditation, practicing that meditation and saying my nice little pretty prayers. And, I want to see miracles happen on this earth. I want to, those who believe shall do all these things and even greater things than these shall they do, right? Well, okay. I volunteer, not for my glory, but to help people wake up to the truth that they're one with God and we're all love. We're all one. So I'm praying and saying my nice little things. God, I want to hear your voice. I want to know you more. I want to hear your voice. I want to see your face, all these things, not my will, but thine be done. I myself can do nothing, but through you, anything can be done. I want to see miracles. Clear as a bell, the same voice that I heard 30 years ago, but more profound, very unobtrusive. Can I speak to you now? This is like 45 deep meditation, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm saying to myself, shut up, dude, with your pretty little prayers and listen. God's talking to you. Then felt like every cell in my body just dissolved into light. I just became one with the one. And I took a breath and I went, whoa, okay, you got my attention. I'm listening. And of course I'm listening in here with just like a pin to drop. Then I hear liaison. And I go into my head. I'm like, liaison? What is that? I heard that word. Shut up, dude. Listen. You're not special. You just made yourself available. True story, true humility. I'm not trying to be special, but I had certainly for months been morning and night meditating, following this. Then I hear like a finger pointing over to her. She's asleep. This is at dawn. By the way, dawn is a very powerful time to tune in. I hear a finger pointing out, like a finger pointing to her. She's my daughter. And it just got me in my heart. I'm like, oh, I get the point. That's all he had to say. Do not project your impatience or anger onto her. She's a child of God. Treat her unconditionally, blah, 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 blah. Still practicing that one. But I got the point. Powerful message. I'm crying, I'm like, whoa, get that one. Then I hear, funny thing, I never got into music as a kid growing up, never listened to the popular stuff or never cared about artists or lyrics. But I heard a lot of stuff on the radio over and over, stuck in my head 3 times. Sledgehammer, do-do-do-do-do. Sledgehammer, do-do-do. 3 times I'm hearing that. I'm thinking, sledgehammer? What is going on? What is God trying to tell me here? And I said, shut up, dude, listen. Because the only word I knew was sledgehammer. Then I see in my mind's eye a beautiful golden jar of honey. And I'm thinking, a jar of honey? This is silly, what is this? This doesn't mean anything. So I come out of my meditation, I go to the dictionary, I type in liaison. Liaison is a French word. It means a link for, communicator for, channel for, right-hand man for. You're not special. Don't think you're special, but you have to make yourself available. Okay, I get it. She's your daughter. Okay, I get it. Sledgehammer. I type it into YouTube with lyrics. 1986 song. I can't make this up. It's by Peter Gabriel. Peter was supposedly in scriptures Christ's rock. He built his church on Peter, closest boy. Gabriel, the archangel, the messenger. Peter Gabriel, 1986. Never knew the lyrics. You can have a steam train if you just lay down your tracks. You can have an airplane flying if you bring your blue sky back. All you do is call me. I'll be anything you need. I'll be your sledgehammer. This will be my testimony. I'm like, whoa, right? Show me around your fruit cage. I'll be your honeybee. Open up your fruit cage where the fruit is sweet as it can be. It goes on. The whole song was God used to speak right to me. It's funny how God works. So my encouragement is, he's speaking to everybody all the time. It's who's listening. Got to quiet this mind. Silence is a doorway to wisdom divine. Quiet the mind, quiet the mind.
Well, thank you guys
Amen.
so much. Such a pleasure to be here.